Welcome to Realizing Real Estate. Each week we will be issuing a new edition, an interview with an investor, developer, business leader, government official, scholars, and others, all who in some way impact the world of real estate and the quality of your investment. Real estate has many facets. We will explore many of them in these brief podcasts. Every one of our guests will be interviewed in greater depth and length on our weekly radio show, Our House, which is broadcast every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WBN 9:30 a.m. and 98.5 FM HD3 in the Buffalo Niagara Marketplace, but is accessible anywhere in the world on the Odyssey app or at WBN.com. All of Realizing Real Estate podcasts are available at the iTunes Store, and our House radio shows are archived on our blog at huntrealestate.com. Join us every week and give us your feedback and suggestions for future topics, also at huntrealestate.com. Welcome to the newest episode of Realizing Real Estate, a regular weekly, hopefully, update on various topics relative to real estate that help you understand and perhaps protect or enhance your investment in real estate. My name is Peter Hunt, and I have with me in the studio today Dan Mirsky, who is Chief Marketing Officer for Hunt Real Estate Corporation, and also Carlos Pegado, who is the Chief Technology Officer also for Hunt Real Estate Corporation. We've been exploring the issue of automated intelligence over a period of time here at our company because, fortunately, I think there's many applications for real estate through AI, and I hope that can enhance our customers' and clients' experience. Dan Mirsky, one of the things that you've been working on is the analysis of large amounts of data that we have on customer behavior and also what that might mean in terms of how we can help customers in the future. That's a big question, but just kind of boil it down into the key elements of things that you're working on right now.
Yeah, Peter, so we've got, the real estate journey, where it starts and where it ends, is never at the same place. When you look at where we'll define them as leads. When they come in as a lead, they can come from a variety of different channels, whether it be, we'll call the third party, the Zillows, the Realtors, the Homes.coms of the world, whether it be our brokerage website. All of our sales professionals have their own websites. You've got yard signs, you've got open houses and social media. You're being blitzed every day with listings, left and right and every which way. Being able to track that data from where they come in at any point of the process to where they transact, and thus being able to track the ROI on that has always been a big challenge. And that's where AI has really been a game changer for us, even in just the past 6 months, is being able to take our transaction data and marry that up to the multiple dozens of different platforms that we have, whether they are platforms that we pay for or platforms that our sales professionals are using, or whether it's free, quote unquote, platforms, social media. And being able to marry those up and say, okay, this transaction came from this source and turned into a sale is becoming much easier if we have the proper data to do it, which right now we're getting there. And proper data mean really it's just, email address or a phone number. We can track that lead right from the onset when they filled out a lead form, no matter where they've come from, and being able to transact on that. And it's really eye-opening for us, and being able to take that data and then say, okay, what are the best platforms for us to be able to utilize to go out and solicit for leads, but also which ones are resulting in the highest quality from a consumer perspective? Where are they getting the most information to the point where they feel comfortable giving us their information and us being able to then pass that off to one of our real estate professionals to go and transact with that? And so that's been really interesting for us to say, okay, these platforms that we didn't really think were working all that well are actually working really well. And these other ones that we thought maybe they were, these are great, maybe aren't working so well. So it's really, it's been an eye opener for sure.
So Carlos Pegado, on the other end of that extreme is the clients or any customers or leads concern about privacy and security. So what can we say to the world to let them know that if they come into our system in some way, shape, or form, that their privacy is protected and that any data that they might share with us is secure, not to mention our own data, that the data that Dan is talking about that we might be, quote, mining.
Yeah, our data is 100% protected. Part of New York state law also dictates that you cannot keep any of that information, particularly with certain like Social Security, et cetera, are not supposed to have that. All that is masked through our whole process.
That's on the mortgage side, because we wouldn't collect that if someone made an inquiry about a house, for example.
Correct. And we have state-of-the-art security before we even get into our what we call our ecosystem. Our firewalls are updated literally daily. We make sure that all our computers are updated, so we have the latest security systems. We do spend a significant amount of time every single day making sure that we do what we call in the industry penetration testing, where we try to crash into our own systems. We work with a third party that helps us do those tests. We don't do it ourselves.
Is this common, or is this something that we might claim to be unique? I'm not perhaps unique,
No.
but we might be on the leading edge of, I should say.
Right. Very large companies like the Compasses of this world and Zillows and all that, I know they do that. We have certain of my peers that I know they do that, but a significant amount of friends that I have in the industry, they don't spend the kind of money we do.
Well, I think spending money is a good idea. Hopefully it's spent in the right direction. In the past, we've discussed things like human interaction, intervention in the process. There's readily available information out there that you can query through any of the AI sites, and you get your information back. But at some point in time, somebody may want to know more. At what point do we try to, as human beings in our industry, do we try to intervene, so to speak, so that we can take whatever information a client or potential client has given us, that we can then help them to take the next step? Because there's going to be a point at which they're going to say, well, we got to jump off.
That really comes from them being proactive in either picking up the phone, texting, calling, filling out a lead form. We can track to a certain point, anonymously who somebody is coming through our system, because we can see, that they've filled out a lead capture form. But if they choose not to be, contacted, or if we reach out to them and they're not ready to talk to us, they're not going to talk to us. But if they are proactively reaching out to us, that's where we can then, start that conversation and meet them halfway. I think our biggest source of qualified transactions and leads is coming from, for instance, our chatbot and our website. And there's people coming to our website actually asking a question of somebody there on our website, and that turning into a conversation that we are able to then build that trust and get, because they don't have to give us their email or their phone number or their name when they come into the chatbot. They can just ask a question and jump off anonymously. But if they're giving us that information, then they are trusting us to be able to then do that not do a transaction with them immediately, but being able to answer questions for them and then hopefully turn that into, a satisfied customer.
In that process, there's going to be a give and take. Customer asks a question, we respond. Hopefully we continue the dialogue by asking a question back to gain more information, so that we can, when they ask the next question, we can be more precise. And a lot of that can be done through automated intelligence.
Absolutely.
So how do we decide when to introduce a sales professional? Because a lot of times people say, I just want the information. Leave me alone. Just give me the information, and I'll make my decision about what I want to do, whether I want to look at the house or I want to have somebody come out and look at my house, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, and that's really that's where we leave it up to the customer coming in to do that. And we don't want to be pushy about it and say, give us your name or your number. We're not going to answer this question for you. We're going to answer the question for you and build that rapport and build that trust. And that's why we personally have chosen to use a live human chatbot. But we've all dealt with those in our lives of, I just want to get a quick answer. And sometimes the automated chatbots are perfect for that, because they have a large knowledge base to be able to answer those questions. And then you can just type in, I would like to speak with someone, and it will immediately transfer you. And so that's where you've gotten, it's like the old school way of, pick up a phone and calling customer service, and you're just sitting there trying to hit 0 to get to somebody, 0, 0, 0, 0, because you really want to talk to somebody. It's the same sort of process, but carried over to a digital world where you can say, I just want to talk to somebody, and you'll be able to, it'll connect you with somebody right there and then.
One of the largest organizations in the technology world that's exploring this, a company called Salesforce, as you both know, they're suggesting that the number of questions that require intervention has already declined by half. So basically this has been a huge benefit to clients, potential clients, customers, and that they can find out a real lot before they have to be attached to a salesperson. And because many people, as we mentioned before, maybe they just don't want to do that until they're, quote, ready.
Right.
So this is a real dilemma for our industry because of the thought that a client is, I hate to use the term own, but working with one of our sales professionals in such a way that they've already established a client relationship, and all the new forms and regulations that have come out of the lawsuits and the settlements require that we explain as early as possible. This goes back to that dialogue you're talking about, Dan, as early as possible in that whole process, that this is how we work. And for me to do my job for you as a professional, I need you to agree to work with me as a client in a contractual form. And oftentimes that's when people say, wait a minute here, I want to think about it. But more and more people are understanding that, and this goes back to the whole concept of AI, because I can learn so much through my own investigation, my own query, my own interaction with a website, as you're describing, Dan, and I'm giving a little bit of information to gain more information, whatever the case might be. It's providing a whole new environment, I think, for us to work really as professionals in our industry. So I'm viewing this as a very positive thing for our industry going forward. How we then take the concept, and it really is a concept of automated intelligence, and apply it in our industry, it's going to be rapidly evolving. We're, as we talked about earlier, probably in stage 1A or version 1A of this whole process. And I'm very interested, frankly, in how this will evolve and really what's going to happen to the role of the real estate professional as time goes on, and really how much that will be valued or not valued by a customer.
There's a quote that I'm not going to claim it was my own, but I heard it and it stuck with me. This was a couple months ago, sitting through an AI seminar online that I was just kind of jumped onto. And the speaker said, AI will never be worse than it is today. And that really has stuck with me because they're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Everything that you're doing today in terms of AI, you might say, oh, it's just not giving me the right information. Well, guess what? In about 2 weeks, that will probably change. Even just in terms of ChatGPT. You're going to using ChatGPT today. Tomorrow you go back, it might give you a different answer because it's gotten smarter. It's learning more about you. It knows how you talk now, and so it's learning.
The fact that you inquired. That will add to the body of knowledge inside that system. So.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we've been at this for a while now, and I think we're just at the beginning of this discussion, and we'll have more discussions like this in the past through our podcast, Realizing Real Estate, because our objective, as I mentioned earlier, is to help you protect and enhance your investment in real estate, and one of that is through knowledge. One of those means, I should say, is through knowledge, and we hope to be able to provide you with that. Dan Mirsky, Chief Marketing Officer. Carlos Pegado, Chief Technology Officer. Thank you very much for being with us today on Realizing Real Estate. To our listeners and viewers, we'll be back in soon with our next episode.